Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Cannon. I got a little bit of a late start today because Mark and Angel Masonette were doing a live broadcast at 12 noon, so I thought I'd push it ahead a little bit, and here we are at 2:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm glad some of you guys have chosen to follow me and watch Coffee with Cannon. Hopefully, it won't turn into a bitchin' with Bill session or backyard beverage. Well, it can't be backyard beverage because here I am. I'm in my in my studio here. Ruth Ann Griffin, hello. Pauline Buckles, hi. Bill and Coffee Clutches. Gray Wolf, I'd rather be here. Good to see you. North Florida, Gary. I wish I was in North Florida now, get some sun. It's a little bit nasty in the Northeast. The big story that everyone's been talking about, of course, is this whole Omicron variant. It seems every time you turn around, someone that you know has it, or someone's feeling under the weather, and then they have to get tested, and you get tested and you're negative. You get tested 2 days later, you're positive. So it's in our public consciousness, no doubt. Duty Ron, my good buddy, and his whole family, his wife and his son have it, and he's on the mend. And we're hoping that he's back into action very soon. And it's really a problem. One of the things I wanted to talk about is there's been they just came out with the statistics, and at the end of 2021, it's been a year where more cops than ever before have been killed in the line of duty. And that's a disturbing fact, and it's a disturbing statistic. And we can analyze it. I'm not going to dig deeply into it today, perhaps at another show down the road. But just think of how disturbing that is. And it's indicative of many things in the criminal justice field. One of the things, of course, is criminal justice reform. And in my mind, in my opinion, the coddling of criminals, and specifically in New York City with the bail reform that has been disastrous. And, every time you show someone on the other side, they're always progressives are always like, "Oh, I look at the science." Well, the science of statistics showing that violent crime is up does not lie. That's the science, and the science that attacks on law enforcement officers are up. That's the science. You can't deny it, however you choose to anyway. And I thought it was interesting that two politicians, they both happen to be Democrats, were carjacked. One, and that's not funny, of course. One in Chicago, and one in Philadelphia. Both of them progressives. One of them heavy duty behind the defund the police movement. I wonder how she feels now. I'm going to play a little bit of the news report on this and uh, see what this is all about. We'll put it in. We'll put it and share it and see what this thing is all about here.
A story that shows anyone can be a target. State Senator Kimberly Lightford is carjacked by armed gunmen.
Nate Rogers uncovered new video of the incident. He's live for us tonight in Broadview. Nate?
Yeah, that's right, guys. The irony of it all, just 20 minutes before this brazen attack, Broadview was having their annual holiday parade, many families and vehicles going down the same street that Senator Kimberly Lightford was robbed and carjacked. Folks saying tonight that they're definitely watching their surroundings.
Anything happen anywhere. That's all I can say.
Broadview residents shaken, but not in disbelief. The latest carjacking victim, Senate Majority Leader Kimberly Lightford.
Heard about 15 gunshots.
Here's surveillance video of the thieves leaving the area. Broadview police say 3 masked individuals hijacked Lightford's Mercedes SUV around 9:45 Tuesday night. Her husband was driving at the time. The two were dropping off a friend here along 20th Avenue.
I was trying to get down.
Sam Douglas says that friend was about to style his wife's hair inside their home. Douglas says he heard at least 15 gunshots before the senator and her husband were ordered out of their vehicle. How do you feel about that, man? Is it frightening, scary to you?
No, it happens every day. I mean, every day I look at the news and You see this every day.
Fortunately, the couple was not injured. Lightford issued a statement in part saying, "I am thankful that my husband and I are alive and physically unharmed. I am trying to process the trauma of what happened. I want to thank everyone who has offered their love and support."
Checking my surroundings every time. You know, it's dark. It gets dark early, so you got to be mindful.
Now, Broadview police spent the day going door to door looking at all of the surveillance video at nearby homes. No suspects are in custody at this time. In Broadview, I'm Nate Rogers, Fox 30.
So whenever these carjackings or any violent crime becomes commonplace and they speak to the folks in the community and they say, oh, this happens all the time, that's scary. That's dangerous. That's when a community, that's when a country is losing sight of what's important. And I think that we get so, at least many people get so involved in this criminal justice reform that they forget that the most important thing besides the criminal justice reform is public safety. And you, as a member of the public, if you can't go about your daily business, your daily life without having to worry about your car being removed from your possession at gunpoint, that's a scary thing, you know, and no society should accept that. There's another, I'm going to show a little bit of this. Another progressive congresswoman was carjacked in Philadelphia. And you know something, if there's any, I'm glad neither one of these congresswomen got hurt, but if there's any poetic justice, is that these folks that are heavily behind defunding the police in this progressive criminal justice reform, they get a taste. There's an old expression that the definition of a conservative is the definition of a conservative is I'm missing the whole definition now. Definition of a conservative is a liberal that just got mugged, and that is so true, because once it happens to you, all bets are off, and all the progressive and liberal ideas you have go out the window when someone sticks a gun in your face. And that just happens to be a fact of life. And it's in, whether it's New York, Chicago, or Philadelphia.
Carjacked in broad daylight after she left an event at a Philadelphia park. Scanlon spokesperson says she was unharmed. Wow. But her federally issued phone and ID were in the vehicle. Delaware State Police say her car was found a few hours later at a shopping center in Newark, Delaware. 5 people inside the car were taken into custody. Joining us now from Philadelphia, Randy Gyllenhaal, a reporter for our NBC News Philadelphia station. Randy, what more are we learning about what happened? I mean, in broad daylight, what does this say about crime in Philly right now?
Yeah, so thankfully, Stephanie, she was not injured, but she was held up at gunpoint, the middle of the day in South Philadelphia. The Congresswoman represents that part of the city. She was actually in FDR Park for an event with other members of Congress. But as she was walking back to her car, that's when she became the city's latest carjacking victim. Police say 2 men approached her, pointed a gun, demanded her belongings, including that government-issued cell phone, and then took off in her Acura MDX. Later that night, Delaware State Police pulled over a similar car, 5 people inside, and took that car into impound. Those 5 people were arrested and are now suspects in this carjacking. However, in the city of Philadelphia, we are seeing a number of carjackings that are increasing dramatically. Most victims, of course, do not get the assistance of the FBI, who is helping on this case. Often these cars are ditched after a joyride or sometimes sold, as used car prices are now approaching all-time highs. Those 5 suspects now, 4 men, 1 woman. They are in custody across state lines in Delaware as this investigation is moving forward. The Congresswoman, Mary Gay Scanlon, is saying she's okay and is thanking police this morning for tracking down her car. Stephanie?
How strange is this for something like this to happen in Philly, right? When we hear this, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. How common is it?
Well, usually not very common, but in the last 2 years, since before the pandemic, carjackings up some 50% in the city of Philadelphia. And, you know, we've had some disturbing cases in just the past few weeks. A young mother with her daughter in the back seat had her car stolen. That led to an Amber Alert because the daughter was still inside. And then recently, a Temple University senior, Sam Collington, was shot and killed during a botched carjacking just feet from Temple's campus. Of course, other crimes also spiking in the last year. We were seeing record numbers of homicides, approaching 550 killings in Philadelphia this year. That is an all-time high. Of course, other big cities across the country are seeing similar trends. Chicago, San Francisco also seeing this surge of carjackings as police and law enforcement working to get a handle on it. But it really is terrifying for the people who are driving around, for delivery drivers, Uber Eats drivers who have to drive their cars off and leaving them running. And that's where we're seeing a lot of these carjackings as well, as cities all over are seeing this trend as well. Stephanie?
You know, it's a disturbing trend, and it's not just in Chicago. It's not just in Philadelphia. It's in Baltimore. It's in Los Angeles. It's in New York, of course. The 8-year tenure of this disaster of a mayor named de Blasio is coming to an end. Let's hope that Adams, the new mayor, is going to be better. Let's hope. I mean, it would be hard not to be better. You know, when you're competing with the worst, not to be able to be better. But I just want to mention a few things, and there's some people in the chat that took the journey with me. And in the late 80s, early 90s, they started in New York City what was known as CompStat, which stands for computer statistics. And basically what it did was it tracked all of the 7 major crimes in all 75 precincts in the city. And they made commanding officers totally responsible for their command and their crime statistics. So if crime went up, they would be called on the carpet, and they would describe to the executive branch of the police department what they were doing to combat crime. And if they had a reasonable excuse, a reasonable answer why they were up in certain categories, they would be given another chance. They would even make suggestions of how they could improve their crime and get it going in the right direction. That was in the 25 or 30 years that they had CompStat. That resulted in a 70% decrease in the 7 major crimes. And the 7 major crimes are assault, robbery, burglary, rape, murder, grand larceny, and grand larceny auto. Even though arson is a major crime according to the FBI statistics, it's not listed because it's not as common. It's not an indexable crime where they really need to have it in the crime indexes. It's somewhat of a rare occurrence. However, it's picked up a great deal during these times. It's, you know, so that whole program, which also part of it was a philosophy of policing called broken windows, which concentrated on the lower level crimes that created neighborhood disorder. And those crimes were enforced. And, you know, for example, a loud radio, urinating on the sidewalk, disorderly conduct, jumping a turnstile, you know, all quality of life things. And they were enforced. And the theory is that when you enforce the lower level crimes, it will greatly impact on violent crime. And it, in fact, is a social construct that works. It actually works. For some reason, and, you know, when they say if it's not broke, don't fix it, for some reason, they view broken windows policing as being broke. And they're trying to fix it now. And you see the result of their fix. The result of their fix is huge jumps in crime, 30% increase in murders across the nation. That's according to the FBI statistics. So it should be, everyone, of course, looks to the FBI as the god of law enforcement. So those statistics should be accurate. Statistics that I opened up with at the beginning of this show, which is very disturbing, is there's a 30% increase in line of duty homicides of police officers nationally. Now, we can analyze that, take a whole show to analyze that, but it's not difficult to see that there has been a war on police in the last 3 to 4 years. Uh, Starting with, these riots, the George Floyd riots, the Ferguson effect we could call a little about, when it was a justifiable shooting of actually a robber named Michael Brown, and that brought in the Justice Department, and of course they sided some way with the criminals in these cases. And look, the George Floyd incident was a horrendous incident. I don't know a cop or anyone on this earth that says that Chauvin's conduct in that case he shouldn't have been arrested and charged with murder. We all believe that. However, does the conduct of one individual taint an entire profession of over a million individuals? I think not. If there's a bad doctor in LA, does the doctors in New York suffer because of that person's conduct? No, I don't think so. Blondie 1025, happy holidays to you too. Mama Mia, hello everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. No, a police off the cuff is not having a show tonight. My next show is Thursday night, where myself and Phil Grimaldi, we're going to review some of the biggest cases of the last year. So, of course, we're going to do a review of Summer Wells. We're not going to go deep into it because many of you guys have been following this. We're going to go over the Gabby Petito case, the Alec Baldwin case, and the Alec Murdaugh, the Murdaugh family case from South Carolina. So we're going to dabble into that, and we're going to talk about some of that. And because we're getting to the new year, and the new year will come new cases and new things to analyze, and new things to talk about, and hopefully some brand new subscribers on Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. Folks, if you're in the chat and you're not subscribed, please go on to our YouTube, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell. Someone asked me in the chat the other day, and I was a little scatterbrained. They said, "Oh, if I'm a subscriber, shouldn't I be able to? I want to listen to the episode that Phil did about making the spaghetti sauce." And at first I said yes, and then I realized it was members only, which means if you're a Patreon or a YouTube member, you got to see Phil and his Italian spaghetti sauce recipe. But minus that, we didn't give that because we want to give something extra to our subscribers to give you a reason to be a subscriber. So that's not a subscriber, a member. So you can be a subscriber for free. But if you want additional content, you have to be either a YouTube member or a Patreon member, and then you'll get the additional content, which is some extra episodes. Once in a while, I'll sing a song like I sang White Christmas, and I posted it for our members. But, a lot of you folks that have been following us, and some of you folks in the chat, like Lieutenant Pete, you know how important the quality of life enforcement was in New York City. And one of the things that we see, and I speak to people that work in the city, and they're in there every day. And a big problem right now, of course, is homelessness. And let's hope that New York City does not go the way of LA, and San Francisco. But yeah, I love New York. Me too. But the last mayor, with his wife in charge of the homeless services, I think the program was called Thrive New York, and it got over $1 billion. And I think the homelessness problem now is worse than it's ever been. So obviously the 8-year tenure of de Blasio has been proving to be a disaster. And he threw $1 billion at it. Where did that billions of dollars go? There's also, I spoke about those carjackings, but probably the worst crime in the nation right now is in Chicago. And the mayor of Chicago is another one of those defund the police people. And then when it's disastrous a year later, they hide. They go for cover as if they never said that. I just want to play a little bit of Lori Lightfoot and to show what she's talking about now, because she's running scared they know that elections are coming up in November, and now she knows that, the buck stops with her. She's the mayor, and she's asking for federal assistance.
Trial because they are demonstrated, quote unquote, real and present threat to the physical safety of people.
Today, Mayor Lori Lightfoot demanded Cook County judges cease the pretrial release of defendants charged with murder, rape, or other very violent crimes.
She says that people on electronic monitoring are still committing more crimes. Our political editor, Mike Flannery, has more.
Delivering what her staff called a major address on violence, Mayor Lightfoot once again blasted Cook County judges for releasing on electronic monitoring about 2,300 defendants accused of crimes such as carjacking and murder.
In 2021 alone, for example, well over 50 people have been arrested for shooting or murder, all while on electronic monitoring.
Actually, 60 such defendants have now been rearrested for new violent crimes, and considering how few arrests have actually been made in connection to Chicago's 4,400 shootings this year, the odds are high that others have gunned down victims and simply gotten away with it.
Right now, today, there are simply too many violent people walking our streets and wreaking havoc in our neighborhoods.
The mayor appears to be preparing for a re-election campaign sure to focus, at least in part, on her failure to deliver on a promise to reduce Chicago violence. Early voting begins in just about 12 and a half months. I'm political editor.
The disaster that is Chicago. Can you believe the balls of her? I'll put it that way. To now start talking about crime. Did it just occur to her that Chicago is like a war zone? Did it just occur to her? And now she's blaming judges. You can always tell when a city's in trouble relative to crime by talking to their police and just seeing what the relationship is between the police and their mayor. The Chicago police despise this mayor. What does that tell you about it? Peter Pranzo, you have to reopen the mental institutions and jails, mandatory sentences for gun possession and violent crimes, summonses for quality of life offenses. You got it, Lieutenant Pete, 100%. It all starts with the quality of life offenses. You need to really enforce quality of life, or else people have no respect whatsoever for the law. But, we also look at where did this huge disrespect come from toward the police? Where has a defendant, when he's told to do something by the police, with impunity, they refuse to do it. And then it escalates it, and the police have to use force, and then they're not backed up for doing their job. These are serious. C.R. Patrick, yes, Obama puppets. This did start with him. This disrespect for the police started back in the Obama administration. And it's escalated to the point where it's gotten worse and worse every year since then, when you had this, to me, my biggest pet peeve, of course, and it occurred in New York City, is the whole defunding the police crowd. To me, that is just, if you even suggest that to me, you're a moron. I don't care what your political bent is. If you really support defunding the police, you're an out-and-out moron. And I'm going to play a little video on that, and we'll discuss it a little bit after I play some of this video. But discussing that, defunding the police, and New York City defunded it to the tune of $1 billion. $1 billion. And then this clown de Blasio is leaving, and this new mayor is going to have to pick up the pieces. And the pieces it is, because he's left the city in a horrendous situation.
It's to the point where I don't want to go outside anymore. It's too dangerous. That quote from one New York City local as residents in major cities face a surge in violence, with many blaming far-left crime laws. Jack Brewer is on the board of the Federal Enforcement Homeland Security Foundation, and he joins us now to react. Good morning, Jack. Merry Christmas. Glad to see you here on the day after.
Good morning.
When you take a look, Jack, and you hear that quote, it's to the point I don't even want to go outside anymore, from a New York resident. What are your thoughts? What can be done?
It's really sad, you know, when lawlessness has abounded in the land so much, and you know, when the disrespect for law enforcement officers has become a part of the culture in many ways, in so many parts of our society, where you know, you don't have that basic respect for order. When an officer says something, you feel like you can say something back, do something back. When you see so many law enforcement officers that are slain in our streets, and now with all of these smash and grabs, and you know, a national push to take resources away from law enforcement officers when we should be giving more resources to law enforcement officers, it really is sad. But I tell you what, you can see that folks are understanding the depth of this situation and the hypocrisy when you hear, you know, certain folks that want to defund the police, you know, all of a sudden when they start to get carjacked, or when they start to get robbed, or when these crimes start to move into their, you know, rich, wealthy communities, they want to all of a sudden do something about law enforcement. That's really sad.
Hey, Jack, look at these numbers. We continue to set bad records. This is New York City. 1,828 people shot in 2021. So that's up from 2020, which was also a record bad year when it comes to shootings. You know, you brought up something interesting, when someone changes their tune. Crime is a quality of life issue. It's one that motivates people to vote. Any quality of life issue does, that which impacts you directly. Here's what I want to ask you, Jack. The African-American vote, the Black vote, overwhelmingly Democratic. Many of these crime stats coming at least correlated, if not causationally related to some of these left Democratic policies. We're talking about a quality of life issue where the major victims of these crimes are Black, are minorities, are those people who voted for the politicians that put these policies into place. So when does that quality of life issue change the vote?
Man, that is, for our time, that's a question that most people haven't been able to figure out. And I think that's because when you look deep at it, when you look at it spiritually, and you start to understand what being a voice for the voiceless really means. Unfortunately, those folks that have been elected in those districts, you know, in those communities, those mayors, they're not really speaking for their people. You know, they're double-minded. And when the Bible talks about being a double-minded man, that's someone that is only going to say what they need to say to gain power, but not really stand up for the people. And I think that's the problem that we're having. We're having is our representation in these communities is not really standing up for our best interests. And if we don't go to the root cause of that and stop trying to pander to one another, I think the welfare programs that we have in our society have hurt the fabric of our nation. I don't think people work as much as they should. And so those folks that are actually being hurt a lot of times aren't even voting. And that's the unfortunate reality, Will. But I tell you what, something's going to have to change. Something's going to have to give, because in the city of Chicago, when 409 kids get shot in 1 year, kids, I'm talking about 10, 11, 12 years old, when things like that start happening, and you have the youth of our nation that are hurting the way that they are with their reading and math proficiency levels, those kids are going to commit crimes. When you have people that don't have educations, they're going to commit crimes. And so grown folks need to step up. We need to get the paddle back in our schools. We have a real issue with discipline, respect, law and order in this nation. And we need to start whooping these kids again. Will, I'm going to keep it straight up with you on this on day after Christmas. If we don't put the order of God, we keep on sparing a ride, we're hating our children. And that's the unfortunate fact, man, of our society today.
Well, however, accountability is brought to bear, be it within our family or with politicians, accountability is the issue. A lack of accountability is the issue. Jack, Merry Christmas.
I don't think the news reporter was necessarily down with whooping the kids, you know, to get them back into doing what they're supposed to do. But I have a great idea. How about a national ComStat meeting? And every mayor who has a city whose crime, mayor and governor, who has a city whose crime is out of control, let's bring them up to the national ComStat meeting and let's have it nationally televised. Let's have these moronic fools tell us what they're doing in their city to get crime under control. Let's start with Lori Lightfoot, and then let's have this buffoon de Blasio as he walks out the door with crime being up a significant amount. And all cities where crime is out of control, let's have this national ComStat meeting. And let's have the grand inquisitors be police chiefs that are going to question these mayors as to what they're doing, because they're the ones that know what should be done. So let's question these politicians, and let's do it right before November. Let's do it right before election time so that they can really explain what the hell they're doing about crime. It's just an incredible thing, that they're coming up with all of these excuses. And I couldn't believe last week that Lori Lightfoot was talking about getting the feds into Chicago. How about supporting your police? And maybe you won't need the ATF, you won't need the ATF to take control of what your police should be able to do without the help of the ATF. This new, well, it's not even a new concept, but this whole the media will act as if these smash and grabs are something new. But I saw it back in 1988 when I was in street crime, and so it's not anything new. But it's disturbing for the public to see, and they hear smash and grab. How about the poor people that own these stores? How can they weather the loss of hundreds of $1,000s worth of merchandise? It's just disturbing.
The most brazen of crimes breaking out across the Golden State.
Smash and grabs, luxury store shakedowns, the pillaging of department stores.
Authorities investigating the latest. This jewelry repair shop in a San Jose mall, $70,000 worth of goods stolen in just 12 seconds. The governor insisting the system is in place that can fix the problem.
Police need to arrest them. Prosecutors need to prosecute them. Judges need to hold people accountable.
This week, officials in Los Angeles announcing the arrest of 14 individuals connected to recent smash and grab robberies.
They work to steal from high-end clothing stores, often using weapons and physical force.
But critics say more action is needed.
They only made 14 arrests in 11 incidents, where at least one of these incidents involved 20 people.
LA Mayor Eric Garcetti calling for an end to the county's no bail policy for some offenders that some say is fueling the surge in crime. This year, criminal activity up more than 8% in San Francisco, and in Los Angeles, violent crime rising almost 6%. In Beverly Hills, philanthropist Jacqueline Avant shot dead in her home earlier this week, a suspect caught hours later robbing a house nearby. All this putting California residents on edge.
I've discussed this before. In fact, I was on News Nation last week and I was discussing this very topic. If there is no teeth in the law and there's no punishment, criminals aren't afraid to ply their trade. They're not afraid of the police. They're not afraid to get arrested because guess what? They're going to be out the next day. This bail reform, at least in the state of New York and in other places, has been a disaster. And why can't they fix it? Why can't they fix bail reform if it's a disaster? Because they don't want to. They really don't want to. And, they need to be taught that they have to do things at the polls. That's people have to vote them out of office. It's just unbelievable. And these smash and grabs aren't just happening in California. They're happening in New York. It's a national phenomenon. And we have to do something about it. We can't just ignore it. It's a real problem. Let me just show you a little New York
This holiday season, a cloud of fear hanging over the Bay Area after consecutive nights of broken glass and stolen goods haunts some of the area's most posh shopping districts.
Get on the sidewalk!
The spree started Friday night in San Francisco's Union Square. A swarm of vandals and looters targeted high-end stores like Louis Vuitton, Fendi, and Hermes. Witnesses posted videos of bag-toting thieves fanning out from caved-in windows. Police flooded in, attempting to pick off perpetrators as they fled. One video shows officers bashing in a car, then making an arrest after dragging a man from the vehicle. In all, 9 stores were hit. Police say at least 8 people arrested so far, with several weapons and thousands of dollars in merchandise recovered.
This was not unplanned. Their plan was to overwhelm us. Their plan was hoping that we wouldn't be here, but we were.
The next night, a massive flash mob surged through this Nordstrom's in nearby Walnut Creek. Law enforcement officials calling the attack well organized.
So as you could see, that I'm sorry, that was also in California. I thought I had a New York incident of this, but you could tell Lieutenant Pete Pranzo was in the chat, and he knows that this stuff used to happen. In fact, he used the word wolf packs back in the 80s and the 90s, and we had some big problems in Midtown Manhattan, specifically Times Square. We'd get what's called wolf pack groups of robbers, sometimes 30, 40, 50. And they would just swarm through Times Square and just rob everything in sight. And I'm talking robberies, that's of people. You know, a lot of these things are incorrectly called robberies. If you break into a closed store, that's a burglary, not a robbery. Robbery involves the use of force, so it has to be personal. You have to physically use physical force to take something from a person. Taking something from a store, unless there's someone in there that's defending the store, is a burglary. Unless there is a person, it's you threaten that person with force to take the property. But this isn't something that's brand new. As I said, we saw this in the 80s and in the 90s, and I'm sure before that. And we had the units, we had the police personnel to put a stop to this. We had the great street crime unit. Every precinct had great anti-crimes. The most aggressive, most accomplished police officers working in these units. Those units are gone. There is no more street crime. There is no more anti-crime, you know? So when we get overwhelmed by the organized criminal element, who's going after these guys? You know, look, I'm going to say it, and you know, many people may agree with me, but I think perpetrators, criminals, should fear the police. I really do. I believe that in my heart. And believe me, they feared street crime and they feared anti-crime, but there's no units like that anymore because they knew street crime and they knew anti-crime were the best officers out there. And they knew you were in plain clothes for a reason. You were in plain clothes because you were one of the best. And when they saw, they used to call them DTs. That was the DTs. When they saw the DTs out there, they feared them and they may go somewhere else. You know, they knew they were going to get caught because the DTs were out on the street. There's nothing like that anymore. And now Eric Adams, of course, says he's going to reinstitute anti-crime. Let's see if he does. Let's see if he really does. You know, I don't think anyone is serious about fighting crime. I think there's a certain level of crime that they just accept. Like, it's okay. It's okay. No one got killed. It's okay. It's just property. But these high-end stores, if they start getting burglarized and people stealing property from them all the time, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to move out of the city. They're going to go to places where they don't have these smash and grab teams. You have 100 perps come to an area, and you heard that Los Angeles police chief. They were overwhelmed. What are you supposed to do if there's 100 perps and you got 10 cops? What are you supposed to do? But I love how the mayor, though, I think it was that guy Garcetti, one of them, he started blaming the police. He started blaming the judges. How about blame bail reform? How about blaming you and the rest of the politicians that created this situation? You know, district attorneys, 100%, they take a big piece of blame. In fact, the new Manhattan DA, this guy Bragg, he's already going in there intending not to prosecute many different types of crimes. So he's going to be a disaster. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's a U.S. attorney. He's coming in there with all these intentions to be the kinder, gentler prosecutor by not prosecuting. I don't think that's what the people in these communities want, non-prosecution. It's really crazy yeah, the Joe Busto, the mayor of Chicago, blamed the business owners for not having enough security in place. Yeah, yeah. What are the security guards supposed to do when 15 or 20 guys storm into a store? Is he going to mix it up with them physically? I think not. And many of them probably have guns. Unarmed security guard. Yeah, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? And then these same stores have been criticized when they lock their doors and allow people in on a buzzer system. Oh, it's discrimination. You cannot do that. You have to let them destroy your store, and then we'll see what we could do about it. So let's see what the powers that be start doing. Crystal Champion, safe space joke. Yes. Angela Ang, good to see you. The Truth, 150 youth brawl at Galleria Mall in Buffalo, New York last night with shots fired. Yeah, like, what are you supposed to do about that? Unarmed security guards. What are they supposed to do about that? How long do you think it's going to take the police to get there? And when the police get there, oh, what if they shoot one of these gangbangers? So all of a sudden it's a major incident, It's a crazy, crazy situation, but it's happening all over the country. And guess what? It was caused by this whole defund the police movement. It was caused by the lax or no prosecution, very lax again, or no prosecution of these defenders. I want to show another genius, a progressive politician. We all know her and not love her, but we know her. She's from this area, and it's just disgraceful when you see who these politicians are and what they stand for. It's just, some of them don't even know the law, and isn't their job to make law? How can they make law that they don't know the law? It's beyond me.
Thank you very much. And joining us now to continue this is Dov Hikind, former New York State Assemblyman, founder of Americans Against Anti-Semitism. And Dov, you just heard there what AOC said, and you heard the response immediately from Walgreens, who said she doesn't know what she's talking about. We've seen the stats. We show them on air all the time. We've spoken to people in law enforcement and in district attorneys. Is she just not aware of what's going on, or does she not consider these crimes either seem to be a mistake?
AOC is out of control. I don't think she's living on this planet. Facts don't matter. She doesn't want to be confused with facts. All she's interested is defund the police, close the prisons down, defund the prisons. I think it's time to defund AOC. She's a danger. I really think she's a danger. These crimes that are being committed, there are real victims out there. The bail reform that she supports, where criminals walk out before the police officer finishes the paperwork. It's ridiculous, causing new victims out there. It is really out of control. And I think AOC, Republicans are speaking out on this. Where are people from my Democratic Party? Are they blind? Maybe AOC is blind. Clearly, she doesn't see it. Where are the others in the Democratic Party to stand up and defend the innocent people of this country who are being victimized by criminals?
Yeah, and it's not just these smash and grabs that she's denying. And you said in the past that she never raises her voice about the rising number of anti-Semitic crimes either.
Absolutely. Missing in action. She chooses what she's going to speak out about.
Well, there you have it. You just see some of these progressive politicians just double down on their stupidity. And you could see that I'm quite passionate about this stuff because I've seen it before. I've seen what it can do to the city. And if it's not stopped, the city just gets to be an unbearable place. It's not safe for people going about their business. There's some jewels in the city that they defend. They defend with no limits on the dollars they'll spend. One of them is the theater district. They protect those theaters. All those theaters have details of cops What private enterprise gets a detail of cops? I'll tell you another one. Lincoln Center has cops assigned to it on day tours and 4 to 12s every day. Isn't that a private enterprise? Yes, it is. So that's defended by the police. There's other locations in the city also that are privately run but defended by the NYPD with details of cops there. So it's like these are the things that, what they need to mostly protect in the city are the people going into the city, the people spending their money, the people that want to be safe in going into the city, want to go about their business. Guys, I'm already at like 45 minutes. It goes so fast. I just thought I would do a quick coffee with Cannon and vent vent a little bit and to get to talk with you guys. It's been so great to spend some time with you guys. It's all of these problems are coming to a head. They're gonna be with us in 2022. I just wanted to enumerate what's going on, and again, thank you guys so much for joining me today. It was sort of an unscheduled coffee with Cannon, but I'll see you Thursday night. In fact, I have a flyer that I put out already on Instagram. Here it is, right here. You could see it. It's we're gonna just touch upon sort of a synopsis of the Gabby Petito case, the Summer Wells case, the Murdoch family in South Carolina, and Alec Baldwin. Just touch upon it. We've already gone deep in depth into these cases, but I want to go into it a little more. And, just for the end of the year thing before we tackle our next big case in 2022, which I don't know what it's going to be. But yeah, Lieutenant Pete, right? It's good for us all to vent. You get to vent and, it keeps you healthier, it keeps you healthier. So folks, hopefully I'll see you all Thursday night at 9 p.m. when we go into synopsizing these, the Gabby Petito case, the Murdochs, the Summer Wells, and the Alec Baldwin case. And I hope to see all you guys. And until then, God bless, stay safe, and have a great day.